Welcome to my S&P 500 Trade Watch analysis video. Today is June 26, 2022. In this S&P 500 Trade Watch video, I will show you my analysis on a possible trade setup that I will be watching for the coming week for the S&P 500 ETF, the SPY, the nasdaq 100 ETF, the QQQ, and the Russell 2000 ETF, IWM. In addition, I will also show you what I will be watching for these two FANG stocks, Apple and Tesla. And finally, I will show you my analysis on the EMini SP 500 future, the ES, using the market profile and the volume profile chart. Stay tuned. Before I begin, I need you to smash that thumbs up to help me promote this video on YouTube. And post a comment in the comment section below to let me know if you find these analyses useful or informative. And be sure to click the subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more of these videos. And don't forget to turn on the notification by clicking on the notification icon so you won't miss any of my future videos. Let's take a look at some possible trade scenario for the coming week for the SPY here. Before we do that, let's kind of just do a quick review of what have transpired last week. We noticed the price came up to this one-day balance here near the 389.90 and ended the week above this expected range upper zone here. It closed way above that. And the expected move for the coming week, we see that it will be on the upper range somewhere between 401 and 402. And the lower range zone will be the 375 and 379.25. Now let's first take a look at the short scenario. The first short scenario is we're gonna wait for the price to come up to this upper area near this 393.38. Basically, this one-day balance area upper edge. Then we're gonna look for a potential shorter back down to this lower edge here. That would be our first target near the 390, and then trail it down to this high volume node here. Down here, that's the Friday, a little bit of a consolidation area, and that would be somewhere around 387. So that's the first short scenario. And the other short scenario is we're going to wait for the price to pull back into this zone here, this balance area. So a dip below 385, and then we're going to look for a short setup and to short it down to this high volume node, which is down here near the lower zone of the expected move, somewhere around 375. So that is the second short scenario. Now let's take a look at a couple of the long scenario. The first one is we're going to wait for the price to pull back to this area here, somewhere around the 386 area, and see could we get a bounce and look for a long to come up to the first target, back up to this lower edge of this one-day balance area, somewhere near the 389, 390 area, and trailed up to this 393. And the second long scenario is essentially see where we get a bounce off of here at this 390 area, with the initial target once again at this 393, the upper edge, then also the high of the day for this one-day balance, and that is near the 396. And you could trail, then possibly trail up to this gap fill here, and that would put it up into in confluence with the upper range of the expected move between 401 and 402. So those are the scenario for the SPY for the coming week. Now let's take a look at the QQQ, look for a possible trade scenario for the coming week. Before we do that, let's just do a quick review of what has transpired from the previous week. As you can see that it came up and tagged this upper range of this balance area here near the 295, and also ended the week move above this expected move upper zone here. And the upper range for the coming week will be between 302.40 and 306. And the lower range for the expected move will be somewhere around 281 and 286.80. Now let's take a look at some potential short scenario first. The first one is to watch the price come up and try to fill this gap and then have a fail move into the gap and pull back to this 295 area here. Then we look for potential short and targeting down at this lower edge of this balance area here, which would be somewhere around 288.68. So that is the first potential short scenario. Then the second short scenario would be looking for the price to move down to this 285 here. And that's basically coming back into this high volume zone here. And we look for potential short to short it down to the lower edge of this lower range zone here and somewhere around 281. Then one could also trail to see would it be able to come down and fill this gap and come down and tag this virgin point of control at 275. So those are the two short scenario, possible short scenario to keep an eye on for the coming week. Now let's take a look at a potential long scenario. We want to see will the price move back down here. We wait for the price to pull back into this lower edge here of this high volume zone, somewhere around this 288.68. Then we look for a bounce and look for a bounce for a potential long scenario, long setup, and target this virgin point of control somewhere around 292.68. Then target back up with a trailing target up here at this 295 area. Then possibly to see would it be able to get up and fill this gap and make it toward the lower edge of the upper zone here, somewhere around 302.40. So that is the possible long scenario to keep an eye on for the coming week. So those are the short and long scenario that I'll be watching for the coming week on the QQQ. Now let's take a look at the IWM, the ETF for the Russell 2000. First of all, look at last week. It came up and took a little peek above this gap here and also closed above this expected move, upper range of the expected move. So for the coming week, the upper range of the expected move is somewhere between 181 and 182, and the lower range is between 169.25 and 167. Now let's take a look at a potential short scenario to watch for the coming week. So the first thing is we're going to be watching to see would it be able to pull back to this composite value area low here, somewhere around 174. Then we look for a potential short setup and short it down to targeting initially this 170 level, and which is this high volume node here, and trail it down into this lower range zone here between 169.25 and 167. So that is the potential short scenario to keep an eye on. And now for the potential long scenario that we'll be watching is to see would we get a little bit of a bounce around this 175 and look for potential long setup, targeting initially at this 177.85, essentially this lower edge of this one-day balance here. Then trail it up to see would it be able to get into this gap zone, and that would essentially come into this upper range of the expected move between 181 and 182. So those are the long and short scenario for the coming week to keep an eye on. Now let's take a look at Apple. And Apple, you can see that Apple moved above this resistance area here and got above this 139 and into this gap here last week. And it seems like it is making an attempt to fill this gap up here at this 142.50 area. And also it closed above the upper range of the expected move. So for the coming week, the upper range of the expected move will be between 147 and 146.30, and the lower range of the expected move will be between 137 and 135. Now let's take a look at a possible long scenario for the coming week for Apple. The first thing we want to see is to wait for a pullback down to this lower edge here of this one-day balance, somewhere near the 140 level. Then we look for a potential setup for a possible long and target this gap fill here at this 142.50, this gap fill here, then trail it up to the lower edge of this volume area, this high volume area here, then targeting the VPOC, this version point of control, which is also in confluence with the upper range of the expected move near 146.30. So that's the potential long setup to keep an eye on for Apple. And for a potential short scenario, we're basically looking for a fail move up at this gap fill and look for a pullback into below this gap underneath this 142.50. Then essentially you're looking for this thing to come back in to this range here, the Friday's range, and look for a potential short with the initial target down here at this 140 level and possibly move down to fill this gap and targeting this virgin point of control, which is in confluence with the lower range of the expected move at 137. Then one could also trail down to see what a dip below this composite value area low here beneath this 134.88 area and trail it down to see what it get down to this point of control here, this version point of control at 132 and also filling in this gap here. So that is the short scenario, possible short scenario for next week for Apple. Now let's take a look at Tesla. Tesla made a complete retracement from this composite volume profile value area. You see this from this low here, almost came up to this value area high and basically closed near the high of the week here. For the coming week, I will only focusing on a short scenario for Tesla. And here's what I will be watching for. I'm going to first watch to see will price be able to push through this value area here, get above this 748, 745, and see what come back in. And once it come back in, then I will be looking for a potential short setup, first targeting this composite point of control near the 716, 717 area. Then we'll trail it down to see what it get down to this lower edge here of this value area, this high volume edge here. This area here, basically I'm looking at this edge, and that would also be in close confluence with the lower range of the expected move near the 684, 685. So once it get down here, then I also will keep an eye on a trailing stop coming down to this value area low of this composite value area and see what dip below this essentially dip below the lower range of the expected move, then be watching for the gap fill and get down to this potential 654 area. So that is my primary short scenario that I will be keeping an eye on for potential short opportunity on Tesla. Now let's take a look at the EMini SP500 future, the ES. On the screen here, I have the volume profile here on the right and the market profile on the left. Now I intentionally left out the candlestick on the volume profile chart here so I could easily identify some of the potential high volume zone. So here you can see that the high volume zone here I have identified between 4167, 4074.75, and then there's a small balance area here between 3935.25 and 3881.50. And we also have a balance area here between 3805, 3732.25, and then here's a 2-day balance area between 3699.25 and 3647.75. And on the right, I have the market profile where I mark off all the poor structures and also some of the poor high and poor low, and also some of the virgin point of control there. And you can see this all marked up with various level. Let's take a look at the trade scenario, possible trade scenario using the volume profile chart on the ES. Right now, let's take a look at the potential short setup. And essentially, I will wait for the price to come up here and get above this 39, 35 and a quarter and see what it come back into this high volume area. Then we'll basically look for a short setup and short it back down to this 3881.50 and see what it come down and take out this low. Then look for the low getting take out and watch this 3805. And we're going to see we'll continue to enter this zone here, then look for another short to short it down to this high volume node here at 3770.50, and then continue down to this lower edge of this high volume area at 3732 and a quarter. That's so basically that's what we are looking for on this short scenario using the volume profile. And then on the long side, we're basically going to look for it to come up and take out this poor low here. And in addition to that, you can work yourself up and try to fill these single print. So be looking for these, the price to come up, but I won't be chasing this long up here until it get up above this 40.74 and 3/4. Then I'd be looking for a setup here on a bounce and targeting this point of control here at 41.1675 and move up toward this upper edge of this value area, this high volume zone at 41.67. So that would be the long setup that I'd be watching for using the volume profile on the ES. And for the market profile, looking at the market profile on the short side, I'd be basically, once again, watch it to come up and take out this poor high and unable to get above this zone and work it back in. Then I'll look for a short here and watch it come down and fill these single prints section here, these single print, and then work toward this this low. And if it's below this low, then I'm looking at this zone here, coming into this zone and tag the point of control at 37.88 and a half. Then look for another short on a bounce back up to this zone, and then targeting the poor low here at 37.45.75, and then come down into this zone and work toward this point of control at 36.75 and a quarter. So that would be the short scenarios that I'd be watching on the ES for the downside. Then on the upside, once again, it's pretty much similar to the volume profile. It's basically come up, take out this poor low and also these single prints here, come up and fill these single print, and then work yourself up to this zone here. Then I'd be looking for a potential long setup and watch it come up and take out these point of control here, these naked point of control, and work up to the poor high here at 41.60 that was made on June 8, and then see would it take out these single print up here and move up toward the 4,200 level. So those are the volume profile and the market profile trade setup scenario that I will be watching for the coming week. So be sure to smash that thumbs up to help me promote this video on YouTube. Thank you for watching and stay safe.